Billy Elliot is probably my favourite film ever. You've all seen it? Yes, lots of heads nodding. And my favourite scene in that film is when he's being interviewed for the scholarship to join the Royal School of Ballet. And he's about to leave the room with his father, and he's looking a bit despondent. He thinks he's probably blown it. And just before he leaves the room, one of the panel says, "Billy, one last question before you go. How do you feel when you're dancing?" Well, Billy turns around with a bit of a quizzical look on his face and gives the time-honoured response, "I don't know." But then he thinks, and his eyes tend to glaze over a bit, and he thinks about it and he says, "I sort of disappear, flying like a bird up there. It's sort of like electricity." Yeah, electricity. When you lose yourself in an interest you love, you find yourself. Billy found himself in ballet. Now, if any of us were asked that sort of question, if you got beyond the point of saying, "I don't know," you probably wouldn't have used those fabulous words that Billy used. But you know the feeling, don't you? You know what he was feeling, because each of us have got something in our lives where you know this is where you feel great. I sing in a couple of choirs, and I can tell you, and I don't know if any of you sing in choirs, but there are certain times when it all comes together at certain moments, and all the planets are in alignment, and it's just great, and you feel terrific. And you might think of other words, but they're the sort of words that make you feel good about yourself. Now, in Billy Elliot's case, it changed his life. I can go back in my first half of my working life, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just meandered through from job to job. I did all right. I managed to get promotions and get some reasonable salary and good respect. But I can remember being aged 30 saying to myself, looking out the window of an office one day, 35 more years of this? And then around about that time, a guy named Gough Whitlam came up with a statement in his policy speech which said, "The leisure may well be the social issue of the 1980s. And that piqued my interest because I'd been very much involved passionately in sports administration up to then. And I sort of thought, I think I've got to do something about this. And then one day along came a seminar called Leisure, A New Perspective. And I went to the seminar, I soaked up every word that was said, I wrote voluminous notes, just spoke to people about it, floated out of that room and said, "This is what I've got to do. I've found the life I need." And I took myself up the road to the Canberra University and registered for the Recreation Planning Graduate Diploma course, which the government had set up because of these sorts of issues. And my first assignment, I got an A+, with words along the bottom saying, "I can find nothing to criticise in this excellent dissertation." Yes, I was on my way. And so that's where life has flown to this very day about the sort of stuff I'm doing now. It's changed, but that's who I am, and that's when I found my change. Like Billy Elliot, it changed his life, that changed mine. But you know, it's not just about changing your life. It's actually about your week. In my workshops, I have a segment where I say to people, I want you to think back to what you used to enjoy doing in your younger years that perhaps you'd stopped doing because life's got in the way. You've now got family and job responsibilities, education, mortgage, all these sorts of issues, and you haven't got time to do it. And one woman said, "You know, you've just reminded me, Pete, I used to love singing, and I don't do much of it these days. I might try and do something about it." I said, "That's very good." And a few days later, I got a message from her saying, "I'm going to take some singing lessons, Peter," and I thought I'd just tell you. Oh, that's great. I'm very pleased. Good luck with it. 6 months later, I get an email from that lady. "Just want to let you know, Peter, this coming Saturday night, I'm going to do my first public singing recital solo. Yes, yes, that's what it's all about. Now, I'm not going to suggest to you that, in fact, that she changed her life doing that. She probably didn't become a professional singer, but it did change her week. She had an interest which was going to energise the rest of the week. And this is what I talk about, work-life harmony rather than work-life balance. Because what you need is a mix of energy flowing in and out, where you energise the burning out energy, so you've always got a constant level of energy to sustain the resilience to cope with the rest of the week. And that's what I believe she was doing. A number of years ago, a few years ago now, the government and I eventually parted company. And I moved into what I call my desert years. What do I mean by desert years? Well, I didn't like the word retirement, and I found from a client an expression. What's for dessert? I've finished the main course and I'm still hungry. I'm still hungry to grow, to live, to have reasons to get up in the morning, to have things that I need to be excited about. Well, it was about 3 months after I'd left government. I was sitting at home by myself, very quietly, and I distinctly remember thinking, if I sat here all day long, nobody would give a damn. Nobody there saying, Peter, where's that report you were going to have by 4 o'clock? Nobody saying, Peter, I need you to do this. Peter, can you get this? Peter, I want you to take over that project. Peter, I want you to go there. I want you to come here. I had to do something to change my life. And there were 2 things that came to my mind that I had to do. The first one was I had to start thinking about self-motivation. If no one was going to motivate me, I'd have to motivate myself. Now, what was I going to do to get that motivation? I had to get back to basics. The basics of who I am, what my natural talents are, what my passions are, what I really want to do with my personal life, and get on with it. And the second one was to give back in some way. I've got all this years of experience and knowledge and insight and some people say wisdom, I should be able to give this back. And I want to give it back to society, but I want to give it back to my kids too. I'm not going to give them, if they're looking to me for money, there's not much there. So I can't give them a lot of money. But I can give them a lot of me. I can do things because the stuff I've learned to go through life, they're going through their problems now too. And they need my sort of wisdom to be able to help them deal with their stuff. When you lose yourself in an interest you love, you find yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, my message to you tonight is get back to basics. Get back to the talents and passions that you love about yourself, the person that you know you are. Let those interests go as often as you can. You won't be able to do it all the time, I know, but as often as you can, get back to basics so that that's where the real you grows and flourishes and blossoms into the person that you know is the person of worth that everyone is waiting to see. Thank you.